Hello, my name is Nathaniel Kimball Boswell. Most people just call me Boz. I stopped by the Ivinson house today to talk to Mr. Ivinson about a possible investment opportunity when I was asked by a reporter to do a little interview and talk a little bit about my life. It's a perfect day to do that. Today is November 4th, 1902, my birthday. I'm 67 years old, my daughter and wife say. Sometimes I feel like I'm 87, sometimes I feel like I'm 47. But it's a perfect time to reminisce a little bit about my life. Born in 1836 in New Hampshire, came to Wyoming looking for adventure, following the prospect of the railroad's expansion onto California. Stopped first in Cheyenne after I had a little bit of a mining operation down in Colorado. Was in the Civil War for a while. We went to Colorado. My mining operation didn't pay off very well. I began to realize how much labor it takes to do mining. Labor has been an important part of Western expansion. So I took my stock in the mining company and traded it for 2 wagons full of dry goods to stock a drugstore. My first thought was Cheyenne. The railroad was in Cheyenne in 1868, so opened a drugstore there. Knew nothing about drugs or pharmacies, so hired a gentleman to run it for me, and he had a friend who was also interested in it, so we expanded our drugstore also to Laramie, Wyoming, which is what brought me here. It was a rough time when I got to Laramie. The local government was very corrupt, as was many of the governments as the railroad moved across the state of Wyoming and across the west. They were interested in expanding territory and connecting the East Coast to the West Coast. The local officials, the man who claimed he was mayor was killing people for their property. Quite often what they would do would be leather strap around their neck if they didn't agree to sign over their property, and they'd kill them, put them on a boxcar, and the body would be found down line several days later, and this carried on for quite a while. I got involved with an organization in Denver called the Rocky Mountain Detective Agency that was somewhat disorganized but very professional. They were quite adept at ridding Western towns of bad influences, and we had a vigilante committee that helped in Cheyenne get rid of some bad blood over there and clean up the government over there, and I asked them to help here in Laramie. And we formed a vigilance committee that at the time we called the All Good Citizens Committee, and we're able to take control of the town away from the bad guys. In a lynching, there were 3 bad guys that were lynched in one night and another one the next night, and that seemed to clean things up pretty well. And that kind of got me involved in law enforcement. I was the first city marshal here, city sheriff here in Laramie, and later became the city marshal. When the penitentiary opened, I was the first penitentiary warden, and that kind of helped me a lot with my labor issues. Bricks and mining is a labor-intensive endeavor. The penitentiary had a wealth of strong, young bodies that were sometimes bored, so we would use that labor in different endeavors to help the city and to help the prisoners learn some type of a skill that they could use when they did get out of prison. I took my law enforcement seriously. I always believed that There are good people that do bad things, and eventually good people that do a lot of bad things become bad people that do bad things. If you can catch them while they're still good people doing bad things, they can be rehabilitated. I think all of those people knew when they were doing bad things, and that it was eventually they would be caught and punished for what they would do. And I used that in my investigations. Probably the most dangerous of all were the ones who were bad people that did bad things, because they knew that when they got caught that there were serious consequences, and were quite willing to give up their life defending what they had done. They wanted to die with their boots on, as you might say, as was said in the West. Some of those characters were, well, one I recall, I arrested Jack McCall, who was accused of killing Wild Bill Hickok in Deadwood, South Dakota. He was in town here in Laramie and bragging at the saloons about the deed that he had accomplished, and I quickly wired the county or the territorial seat in Yankton, Dakota, to find out if they were interested in his arrest, and they said yes, they'd like to try him for the murder of Hickok. So we arrested him and transferred him to Yankton, Dakota, where he was tried and later hung for that offense. Jack Watkins was in Cheyenne. I was visiting Cheyenne with some friends of mine in law enforcement. They asked if I would help capture him, and I had to tell them that I was out of my jurisdiction, and they called the judge, who immediately gave me the authority as deputy marshal to assist in the capture of Watkins, and with the help of law enforcement in Cheyenne, we did that. Today being my birthday, I'm 67 years old. Today is November 4th, 1902. I still have my feet in law enforcement, but I've kind of resigned myself to taking care of my family. I'm married to a wonderful wife, Martha, and I have a daughter, Minnie. I've come to realize the importance of women in society, and have used my influence to encourage women in politics. I was the first sheriff to involve women in a jury here in Laramie, Wyoming, and was very much a proponent of women's suffrage. I appointed the first jury foreman who was a woman here in Laramie, Wyoming, and I'm very proud of that accomplishment. At 67, I'm kind of resigned to what I've done in the ranching industry. I own a ranch southwest here of town, which was a stage stop in the 1800s, and we had guests of stagecoach riders that were riding from Colorado up towards, on the Cherokee Trail towards Rawlins and Rock Springs, and we thoroughly enjoyed that, as well as raising horses, cattle, and sheep. The sheep didn't turn out to be such a good venture. We lost the entire sheep herd in the fall of 1886 when we had a huge snow blizzard that pretty much wiped out a lot of the livestock industry in Wyoming, both cattle and sheep. But we're very proud of the success that we have had. I'm not sure what else I can tell you about my life, except it's been an exciting one, and things have settled down since the turn of the century, and that's about all I can tell you.